one. Okay, we are live on Facebook at the moment. There's 10 viewers.
10 viewers.
10 viewers on our Facebook. Starting recording to the computer. Okay. This is just a reminder that for anyone that calls in, you can press *9 to raise your hand if you'd like to speak. We currently don't have any attendees that have called in. We do have 10 viewers on our Facebook.
Is it on this agenda?
If you have the new agenda. 7-7. No, that's not the right one. I printed you the wrong. I printed you that before. Save the new one.
For anyone that would like to participate, excuse me, for anybody that would like to participate to the meeting, you can dial in at 346-248-7799 and use access code 103280369#. And to speak during the public forum, you'll need to raise your hand by pressing *9 if you call in. Our agenda is online if you need the web access link.
Already.
Okay, good evening, Council, and the members of the audience who are listening in, and staff. The time is 7 o'clock. Please join me standing for the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for bringing us together to carry out the responsibilities entrusted in you as your local government leader. Dear God, time is different, but nothing. And what we are going through is all because of your plan. You know, you are the sovereign God. You control the universe. You control what's going on. We ask that your kindness, your blessings and protection be on this nation, around this world, state of Texas, Dallas County, and our town of Sunnyvale. We ask that you bring healing, you bring courage, you bring confidence, you bring the assurance that all is going to be okay and you are in control. Dear God, as we gather together as a government body to deliberate the issues important to this town, we ask that you give us the wisdom and humility and understanding. We ask that we listen to each other and support each other, show each other grace, staff, to our council members and the citizens. Dear God, be with us tonight. Help us make the decisions and help us to make decisions which are pleasing to you. We ask everything in the name of Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please stand and join me wherever you are and join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of
of the United States of
America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Please be seated. Now time is 7:03. I'm going to call to order the regular town council meeting of Town of Sunnyvale, Texas for Monday, March 23rd. For the record, all council members are present, and I could see all 6 council members are present. With the 7 of the 7 council members present, we have quorum. Do you make a roll call here, Rachel, or I can just look at
I
them?
think we're okay on that.
This is the time for announcement. If anybody from the council would like to make any announcements, please do so at this time. There are no announcements from the council. Staff, are there any announcements?
I just want to encourage any members of the community to be sure and register on our website for our e-newsletter, our news flashes, and our emergency notification system. This is the best way to keep up to date with what's going on in our community, especially right now with the orders from the judge and the health situation that's going on. We would really appreciate many residents as possible registering for that newsletter and or following us on our Facebook page so that we can make sure we're getting the most up-to-date information to them. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements from the staff? Moving on to the public forum. This is the time town council invites citizens to address the town council on any matter except items on the agenda or matters of legal or personal matters. If anyone from the audience would like to come forward and speak to the council, you may do so at this time. Let me open up the time for the members of the audience who are here present today. Then I will open up to the members who are calling in or online. No one from the members of the audience here are coming forward. So at this time, I'm going to open up for public comments or public forum from those who are listening in. If you are wanting to talk, if you want to talk tonight, I'm going to ask that you state your name. And once I hear your name, I will call on you to state your address for the record. Are there anyone from the audience or anyone calling in online wants to address the council? Star 9?
There's no attendees that have called in.
Okay. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public forum. Moving on to consent agenda items. Council, there are 3 items on the consent agenda. Number 1, consider approval of minutes for the regular meeting of the town council for March 9th. Number 2, discuss, consider, and act upon the second reading of ordinance 20-07, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Sunnyvale, Texas, setting the signatory authority and expenditure approval authority of the town manager at a maximum amount of $49,999.99 for budgeted expenditures and amending the purchasing policy to reflect set signatory limits and providing an effective date. Number 3, discuss, consider, and act upon the second reading of ordinance 20-05, an ordinance of the town of Sunnyvale, Texas, amending the town code of ordinances of the town of Sunnyvale as amended from time to time by adding fees to the Lake Rehoboth Take Area Sublease Program to Appendix A fee schedule by amending pertinent sections, providing for a penalty, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause, providing an effective date, and providing for the publication of the caption. Council, would anyone like to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? If you
Mayor, I'd like to remove the first item.
What was that again? What was that?
The minutes.
I would like to remove the first item
Yes.
for the
Yes.
approval of minutes for the March 9 meeting.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to remove them or just have the change made?
Well, the change, if the change was effective, I wasn't sure if you got it or not.
So let's move it for the time being. Let's come back to it. How about item number 2 and 3? Okay, if there are no changes on number 2 and 3, I'm going to call for a motion on consent agenda item 2 and 3.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 2 and 3.
Motion made by Mr. Finch to approve consent agenda 2 and 3 as presented. Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Second by Mr. Clark. Everyone heard the motion? All in favor signify. I'm going to call by name. Mr. Allen? Mr. Clark?
Yes. Aye.
Hi. Mr. Regan?
Yes.
Mr. Finch?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Wade has his microphone muted.
Yes. And Mayor George. So we got item number 2 and 3 approved 7-0. Okay, now let's go to Ms. Regan. Item number 1, March 9, 2020.
Mayor, it was a simple change on the discussion items. It was just a slight error, but it could be totally misconstrued. With my comments with regard to Daniel Steele, there's the word, basically, the idea is conveying that Daniel Steele did good landscaping on my yard by the use of the word his, when it should have been the use of the word their. And I sent a note to Rachel. She may have a copy of that she can read it right out loud to you.
Okay, so this is on page 9 of the package, item number 6. No, that's not it.
Correct.
Okay. So you want to change the word, Councilmember Egan recognized Daniel Steele for his beautiful to their beautiful landscaping.
It should be for their beautiful landscaping.
Okay. Are there any other changes on this agenda item? Okay, if there are none, can I have a motion to approve item number 1 with the change as proposed?
So moved to approve.
Second.
Who seconded? Motion. Okay. Motion made by Mr. Egan, second by Mr. Finch to approve agenda item 1 with the change we just described. Everyone heard the motion? All in favor signify. You can raise your hand, I can count that. Okay. All opposed, motion passed 7-0. Rachel, was that good enough?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to the public hearing portion of the agenda. Open or number 4, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon resolution 20-20A, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Sunnyvale, Texas, approving funding for the Vineyard Park paving project projects in compliance with the section 505.152 of the Texas Local Government Code for use for parks and park facilities and open space improvement in an amount of $172,428.55. That be Ms. Pearson or?
Actually, it's going to be Burton. But, before we start, I just want to clarify on the next 3 items. It's a little confusing if you're looking at the agenda because it looks like we have the same items repeated later in the agenda. And what this is the state law requires under section 505 of the local government code that we hold a public hearing to pass a resolution for council to establish these as projects under 4B. And so we're going to do that first, and then we'll go back and actually vote on the item or the contract itself.
Got it. So the item number 4, 5, and 6 are to designate 3 projects as 3 items as projects. Okay.
Correct. And so item 4, Burton, I think, is going to take the lead on that. You there, Burton?
I am.
Good evening, Mr. Barr.
Good evening. Honorable Mayor and Council, at the request of the 4B Economic Development Corporation Board of Directors, staff developed bid documents for the removal and the reconstruction of the parking area at Vineyard Park. The project scope of work included the removal of approximately 22,000 square feet of asphalt pavement and replacement of new 6-inch asphalt pavement. The project included subgrade stabilization, restriping of the existing parking spaces, and a $25,000 contingency. In January of 2020, bid documents were placed on the town's website, and the project was advertised in local newspapers. 2 proposals were received through the sealed bid process and were opened on February the 13th, 2020. Town engineer Lyle Jenkins reviewed the submittals and verified references. The lowest, most responsible bid was received from Reliable Paving Incorporated. Additionally, material testing for the new subgrade and pavement improvements will need to be completed to ensure that all the bid specifications were met. The test will gauge asphalt thickness and check for voids in the subgrade and asphalt. The lowest, most responsible proposal was received from Alliance Geotechnical Group. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. I'm going to open up for public comments at this time. So if there are anyone who are present here or members of the audience who are online would like to speak to the council on item number 4, please state your name at this time. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public comments on item number 4. Members of the council, are there any discussions on number 4? If there are none, I am going to call for a motion on item number 4.
Motion to approve item 4 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Finch and seconded by Mr. Clark to approve item number 4 as presented. Everyone heard the motion?
I think it was Egan.
Either
He
one.
beat me
Doesn't
to,
matter.
I was going to. He beat me to it.
Yes, sir. Motion
Either one.
made by Mr. Finch, second by Mr. Egan to approve item number 4 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. Motion passed 7-0. Good enough, Rachel? Moving on to item number 5, hold a public hearing, discuss, consider, and act upon Resolution 20-06A, resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Sunnyvale, Texas, approving funding for a landscaping contract with the Paradise Lawns of Texas project in compliance with Section 505.18158. Mr. Burton?
Honorable Mayor and Council, in December of 2019, staff sent out a proposed landscape maintenance scope of work to 6 local landscape contractors. We received 3 proposals along with 3 no bids. Paradise Lawns of Texas submitted the lowest, most responsible proposal. This agreement will result in a savings of approximately $137 per month or $1,645 annually. As a result of rebidding this agreement, an annual savings of approximately $4,700 will be realized by the town. The 4B Economic Development Corporation's shared responsibility for this agreement represented 35% for the cost of maintenance at the 4 corners. Paradise Lawns of Texas is the current vendor and has demonstrated a satisfactory work performance in the past. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone who is present here or anyone who's online would like to speak to the council about item number 5, you may please do so at this time. If you'd like to speak to the council, please state your name.
There's no one that's attended at this.
No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the item number 5 for public comments. Public comments I'm going to close for 5. Council, are there any discussions on item number 5? Mr. Clark?
I just want to say I'm glad that you all are looking at ways to cut costs. So thank you, Burton, for doing this, taking care of this, and you and 4B. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Are there additional comments or discussions on item number 5? If there are none, I'm going to call for a motion on item number 5.
Motion to approve number 5 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Finch to approve item number 5 as presented. Sorry, Mr. Freeman.
Second.
That'll be easy for me to see. Then a second.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Freeman, second by Mr. Finch to approve item number 5 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 7-0. Thank you, Council. Moving on to item number 6, hold a public hearing, discuss and consider and act upon resolution 20-21A, resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Sunnyvale, Texas, declaring a recreational use of the acquisition of 16 acres of land, more or less from the Sunnyvale Independent School District for $200,000 and up to $15,000 in closing costs, a project under 505 of the Texas Local Government Code, and for the purpose of providing an effective date. Who would that be?
I'm taking that one, Mayor.
Ms. Guthrie?
So the Sunnyvale Independent School District approached us about purchasing Jobson Park and for a cost of $200,000. So this item before you is to declare it a project under Chapter 505. There's later on the agenda, just in case somebody's looking forward, you'll get to vote on the purchase agreement with Sunnyvale Independent School District, as well as a performance agreement with the 4B, who will be funding the purchase via the town. So if I'm happy to answer any questions about this project that you might have.
Okay. So let me go and open up the public comments. If anyone who is present here or members of the audience calling in, if you like to talk to the council about item number 7, would you please state your name? No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close item number 7. Members of the council, are there any questions or discussions on item number 7? No one raised their hand, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to call for a motion with respect to item number 7.
Motion to approve item 7 as presented. Oh, sorry, Brenda, I cut you off.
I'm sorry, my bad. It's item number 6, my bad. Sorry about that.
Motion to approve item 6 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Finch, I think.
Second.
Raise your hand, okay. Motion made by Mr. Finch and second by Mr. Clark to approve item number 6 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 6-1, supporting Mr. Clark, Mr. Finch, Mr. Freeman, Mr. Allen, Mr. Egan, and Mr. George, opposing Mr. Wade. Moving on to the discussion and action items portion of the agenda. Item number 7, discuss, consider, and act upon the first reading of ordinance 20-08, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Sunnyvale, Texas, amending the Town Code of Ordinances of the Town of Sunnyvale as amended from time to time by adding fees to the public and semi-public food ordinance to Appendix A fee schedule by amending pertinent sections, providing for a penalty, providing a severability clause, providing a repealer clause, providing an effective date, and providing for the publication of the caption. Who would that be? Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council. As you noted, this is a amendment for our fee schedule in regards to the pool and semi-public pool ordinance that was recently approved by Town Council at the February 24th meeting. Staff is just following up, doing some cleaning up on our fee schedule to make certain that these fees associated with that ordinance are on the list.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. So I'm going to open up public comments at this time. If anyone from the audience or those who are calling in would like to speak to the council on item number 7, would you please state your name? No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close public comments on item 7. Council, are there any discussions on item number 7? No one is, there are no other am I too far?
A little bit,
Okay, better?
a little bit closer.
Okay. Okay. If there are no other discussions on item number 7, can I have a motion with respect to item number 7?
So move to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Egan to approve item number 7 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Finch. Approve motion 7 as agenda item 7 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. Negative, everybody? I think so, right? Motion passed 7-0. Moving on to item number 8, discuss, consider, and act upon an agreement with the Reliable Paving Incorporated and Alliance Geotechnical Group for the Vineyard Park Paving Improvements Project in compliance with section 505.152 of the Texas Local Government Code in an amount not to exceed $172,428.55. I know Mr. Barr has gone over it. Mr. Barr, would you like to add anything more?
I think he's just available for questions. Sir.
Okay. So I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the audience or those who are calling in would like to speak to the council on item number 8, please state your name. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close item number 8. Members of the council, are there any questions for staff or any discussions on item number 8? If there are none, I am going to call for a motion with respect to item number 8. Paving Incorporated.
A motion to approve item 8 as presented.
Was there a comment before that, somebody?
I don't know.
Did I hear a comment before that?
No.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Finch to approve item number 8 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Clark. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 7-0. Moving on to item number 9, discuss, consider, and act upon a contract for an annual landscaping contract with the Paradise Lawns of Texas in an amount not to exceed $9,694.99 project in compliance with section 505.152 of the Texas Local Government Code for use for parks and park facilities and open space improvements.
So again, just questions.
Yeah.
Already gone over.
Okay, Mr. Barr went over the details. I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the audience or those who are calling would like to speak to the council, please state your name. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public comments on item number 9. Council, are there any questions for staff or discussions on item number 9? If there are none, I am going to call for a motion on item number 9.
Motion to approve item number 9 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Freeman to approve item number 9 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Egan, I believe. Motion made by Mr. Freeman, seconded by Mr. Egan to approve item number 9 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. Motion passed 7-0. Moving on to item number 10, discuss, consider, and act upon extending the date for submitting qualified expenses and obtaining a certificate of occupancy for Hope Coffee from March 1, 2020 to September 1, 2020 for both 4A and 4B performance agreement. That be Mr. Pearson. Good evening, Mr. Pearson.
I'm here. I'm here.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Do you have any details to provide on this one?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. I was going to ask.
Very good.
Item number 10, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. Hope Coffee, both of the contracts, the 4A and the 4B performance agreement, were executed on November the 21st, 2019. The City Council, the 4B board, they have already approved the original agreements, but Brian Masters, the owner of Hope Coffee, he's a little bit behind on his scheduled deadlines. The building permit was not issued until the week of February the 10th. And because of that, he's running behind, and he would like to change the date from March 1st to September 1st of 2020. And this only applies to reimbursements for qualified expenses and the certificate of occupancy. We've given him one more month because we don't want to have to come back to the council again. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. We're going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience or anyone online would like to speak to the council on item number 10, please state your name. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close item number 10, public comments on item number 10. Members of the council, are there any questions or discussions on number 10? If there are none, I am going to call for a motion with respect to item number 10.
Motion to approve item 10 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Finch to approve item number 10 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Egan. Motion made by Mr. Finch and approved, second by Mr. Egan to approve item number 10 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions?
Mayor, could I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
You know, I think I'll have some reservation about this. But on the other hand, considering where we are in this day and age, I don't want anyone to think that, and it may be a long time moving forward, but I don't want any new development people to come in and say that we're just going to bend over. This is a very, very trying time right now. And I think that in order to help a small business get their feet on the ground, that it's important that we pass this through. And it's only for the conditions that we're working under right now that I don't back up and say, wait a minute, let's second think this. And I just wanted to make that comment to make it clear for anything else that might be on the table. I'm willing to work with people because of the conditions, but that's it.
Good comments. Thanks, Mr. Egan. Are there additional discussions or comments? If there are none, I'm going to call for a motion with respect to item number 10.
The motion's already out there. All it is the vote. Motion has been made and seconded. All we're looking for now is the vote.
That is true. Thank you very much. Okay, there are none. All in favor of the motion signify. Motion, all opposed. Motion passed 7-0. Moving on to item number 11, discuss, consider, and act upon a performance agreement between the town of Sunnyvale and the Sunnyvale 4B Development Corporation for the acquisition of land for park purposes or 4B allowed purposes in an amount of 200,000 plus up to 15,000 for closing costs. That be Mr. Barr again?
Actually, it'll be me, sir.
Ms. Guthrie, good evening.
Thank you. Mayor and council, because the SISD is selling us the property without going out for a public bid, the advice from legal has been that they have to do that with an entity that has eminent domain authorities. So 4B does not have eminent domain authorities, only the town does. And so the 4B cannot purchase the property directly from SISD. Therefore, the 4B's attorney recommended that we enter into an agreement with them so that they will pay the town the cost of the land for the park, and then the town will then purchase it directly from SISD. So this is actually a 4-year agreement. And basically it spells out, I'm sure all of you read it, but in case somebody at home is wondering, it basically spells out that as long as we use it in the next 4 years for a 4B allowable purpose, then we fulfill the obligations of the performance agreement. If we use it for a purpose that is not a 4B allowable purpose, then we would have to reimburse them for the money.
Reimburse? Okay. So what if the town could not build anything for the last 8 years or next 8 years?
Well, there already is a park on the grounds of the land, so we've already fulfilled that obligation. So as long as we don't repurpose it for some purpose that's not a 4B allowed expense, then we're fine.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any other questions. And this was approved by 4B board.
Gotcha. Let me open up for public comments at this time. If anyone from the members of the audience or those who are calling in would like to speak to the council on item number 11, please state your name.
We have one attendee now. Just a reminder, if you want to raise your hand, press *9 on your phone as an attendee. The hand is not raised at this time.
Okay. They can hear you, right?
They can hear me, yes.
You might want to just repeat it.
Okay, if anyone who are listening and would like to speak to the council on any of the items, when the appropriate time comes, we could ask you to press *9 so that that's like you're raising your hand, then I will call your name to speak to the council. With that, if anyone from the audience would like to speak to the council, either state your name or raise your hand. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public comments on item number 11. Council, are there any questions for staff or discussions on item number 11? Okay, if there are none, I'm going to call for a motion with respect to item number 11.
Motion to approve item number 11 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Clark to approve item number 11 as presented. Second. Thank you, Mr. Finch. Thanks, Mr. Finch raises that, so it's easy for me to see. Second by Mr. Finch. Motion made by Mr. Clark. Second by Mr. Finch to approve item number 11 as presented. Everyone heard the motion?
Mm-hmm.
On the additional discussions. All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 6-0. 6-1, sorry about that. Supporting the motion, Mr. Clark, Mr. Finch, Mr. Freeman, Mr. Allen, Mr. Egan, and Mr. George, and opposing the motion, Mr. Wade. Moving on to item number 12, discuss, consider, and act upon a real estate sales contract between the town of Sunnyvale and Sunnyvale Independent School District for the purchase of 916 acres, more or less, formerly known as the Jobson Park, for 200,000 and up to 15,000 in crossing costs. Must you Ms. Guthrie back again?
Yes, sir. So again, this is the purchase sales agreement with the SISD for Jobson Park. I had sent this out to council because there was one change where we added the actual survey into the agreement. So you should have that in front of you. The only thing I do want to draw your attention to that is anything out of the norm is the reverter clause. The reverter clause basically states that if we do not use it for a public purpose, they do have the option of exercising an ability to purchase the land back from us. So I just want to make sure that council saw that. This again is tied to the fact that they're selling it to us for well below market value and not going out to bid. So there had to include something in the agreement, is my understanding, that benefited their constituents. So that was the piece they put in. Right now, we already are using it for a public purpose, which is the baseball park. And in my opinion, anything that we would do would be for a public purpose unless we sold it. And then they would have the first right to purchase it back from us before we did so. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Guthrie. I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience or those who are online would like to speak to the council on item number 12, please raise your hand or state your name. No one is coming forward to speak to the council. Council, are there any questions for staff or discussions on item number 12? If there are none, I am going to call for a motion with respect to item number 12.
Motion to approve item 12 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Finch to approve item number 12 as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, a second by Mr. Freeman to approve item number 12. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed? Supporting the motion, Mr. Clark, Mr. Finch, Mr. Freeman, Mr. Allen, Mr. Egan, and Mr. George. And opposing the motion, Mr. Wade. With the 6-1, motion passed. Moving on to item number 13, discuss, consider, and act upon appointing 2 members of the town council to serve as the audit subcommittee. Ms. Hopkins?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Staff anticipates receiving the final audit during the month of March or early April for review by the subcommittee. Last year, I believe our members were Kevin Clark and Jim Wade, and we're asking again this year that the council appoint 2 members to the subcommittee.
Is it a requirement or is this a best practice?
It is a best practice.
That's what I thought. Okay. Thanks, Ms. Hopkins. Let me open up this time for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience or those who are listening in would like to speak to the council on item number 13, please raise your hand or state your name. No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close public comments on item number 13. Council, I'm going to ask for volunteers. If you will kindly nominate yourself.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to volunteer for it this year.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Are there additional volunteers for second volunteer? What do you think? Mr. Wade, do you want to take it?
No, I believe y'all can handle it this year.
What did you say?
Handle it this.
What?
He said he believes we can handle it this year.
I'll take it, Mr. Mayor.
You'll take it, okay. Okay. And Mr. Freeman, are there any other nominations? Okay, if there are none, I'm going to call for a motion to approve Mr. Finch and Mr. Freeman as the members of the subcommittee to serve on the audit subcommittee.
So moved to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Egan to approve appointment of Mr. Finch and Mr. Freeman to the audit subcommittee. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Clark. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor signify. All opposed? Motion passed 7-0. Moving to item number 14, discuss, consider, and act upon all matters incident and related to the approving and authorizing publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation, including the adoption of resolution 20-22 pertaining thereto. Ms. Hopkins, good evening, one more time.
Resolution 2022 approves and authorizes the publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation to fund the projects identified and prioritized by the town council and the CIP Citizens Committee. These projects include the construction and/or improvements to one or more fire stations, bringing the Barnes Bridge Road Bridge back into service, and the Harris Addition sewer replacements, Phase 1 and Phase 2. Eric Maha with Hilltop Securities is with us, and he and I can answer any questions.
Eric, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Do you have any comments?
No, Mayor, Council, as Liz mentioned, there is a copy of the calendar of events in the packet. This would be the initial action, and then formal council approval is scheduled to occur on May the 11th. Prior to that council meeting date would be the time, most likely that morning, the interest rates and the final terms would be set, and that would come before council the evening of the 11th.
Mayor and Council, I think speaking to the calendar that's in your packet and the timing. Let me find that. Eric, it was just a little bit hard to hear you. That's going to be page 235 in your packet. This is our preliminary schedule of events. And I can also point out there's some schedule here, the tax impact. If you look at page 231 of your packet, I'm sorry I'm moving back and forth, but 231 I think has a pretty good summary of what this issue would do. It has your fire station at $5.7 million, your Harris Addition Phase 1 at $1.3 million, your Harris sewer replacement at $2.221 million, financing cost of $200,000, and Barnes Bridge replacement. That is a contingency. We just don't know what that cost is right now. Then below that, it gives you the tax impact of each one of those projects.
Just a reminder that right now it is anticipated that the Harris Addition segment will be funded not through property tax revenues, but through utility revenue funds. But we did show this as kind of worst case scenario. So we wanted to, and the other thing is there's been a lot of questions about the Barnes Bridge. We're kind of in a little bit of limbo because we got direction from council, I think at the last meeting, to go back out to bid for the fortification. We are still waiting to hear from the COG, and we're in the queue for the grant from the state. So I think we just don't have enough data points. And if you look at the schedule, you see that this is a maximum amount of issuance. At some point between now and the issuance, we can lower the amount that we're issuing. So, we're trying to push it as far as we can without, closing the door on taking action as you all had asked us to, but still, keep it as low as possible.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Eric and Liz. I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone from the members of the audience or those who are calling in would like to speak to the council on item number 14, would you please state your name or raise your hand, please? No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public comments on item number 14. Members of the council, are there any questions or discussions on item number 14?
Eric, this is Jonathan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me better this time?
Yes, I can. You sound
Okay.
much, much better. Given everything that has gone on and is going on, what is this looking to do to rates? Does this look like to have a long-lasting impact? Is this something that we might have to worry about when it comes time to price these bonds?
Yes, and that is a question we've been fielding over the last week or so. And I will say this, that the market is somewhat frozen in the sense that we're not seeing a lot of issuance in the municipal bond market. I think we're waiting on one issuer to step in and kind of set the price level before we get a sense of where bonds are pricing right now. But given the events, especially this last week, not much activity in terms of the market, and it's very hard to get an indication on interest rates at this time. I'll say this, we have about a month and a half, 45 days or so until that date to actually make the decision to price. And it's something that we will be closely monitoring and, working with staff on giving updates on where we're at. And as we get closer to that May 11th date, we will certainly be watching the interest rates. And if it's a situation where the markets are still in turmoil and there's a lot of volatility, it may be a situation where we decide to hold on that date and not go forward in price. But as it stands right now, our expectation is hopefully the dust will settle. I know the Fed is working and has worked, and there's some backstops in place on municipal bonds that I think hopefully will give investors some comfort. And so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we should see some stability back into our market. But I think we all know that a lot of this is unforeseen, and it's really hard to predict where we'll be at in a month and a half from now.
Thank you, Eric.
Are there additional discussions or questions on this topic from the council?
And
Eric,
one thing I
have
will,
question for you.
Mr. Adam, what did you say? I'm sorry.
My question, Eric, is what is the cost increase to the average? I think it's in here somewhere. I just can't find it. I don't know if you figured that on a $350,000 house or what the number was. What is the expected increase per household?
and we would be, for that, to answer that question, we would look at that Schedule 1 prepared, assuming just the fire, 5.7 million were to be supported from the tax rate. We're projecting about a 2.5 cent INS tax rate increase.
Which is, how do we convert that to per household? Or per average house, rather?
Assuming a $350,000 home, you're looking about $87, $88 a year, given that 2.5 cent increase. Now, if the Barnes Bridge project is also included, that would be Schedule 2 in the packet. That would produce 7.2 million or so. And we're projecting that would be about a 3 cent increase to the tax rate. Let me get my calculator. Which would be about $105 a year. That includes the fire station and Barnes Bridge. So about $88 a year on the average home owner with just the fire station, and then looking at $105 with the fire and Barnes Bridge.
Thanks, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Council, other additional discussions? If not, can I have a motion with respect to item number 14?
Make a motion.
Motion to approve item 14 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Finch and second by Mr. Clark to approve item number 14 as presented.
I think Mr. Freeman actually made that motion, Mayor.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Motion made by Mr. Freeman and second by Mr. Clark to approve item number 14 as presented. Everyone heard the motion? Are there additional discussions? All in favor of the motion signify. All opposed? Motion passed 7-0. Moving on to item number 15. Thank you, Ms. Hopkins. Moving on to item number 15. Receive status update regarding the timeline and implementation of the police department. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope you all are well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. We received our first car last Friday, or the Friday, it was last week. The chief's car arrived, and they are in the process of upfitting the second administrative car this week. When President Trump closed down the three automakers, we dodged a bullet. I've been assured that our other cars have been built and are on their way to the dealership. SPD personnel is taking COVID-19 precautions at work and in our building. We're practicing extreme cleaning procedures, social distancing, and we are going to be staggering our shifts so that we're not all in the office at once until further notice. We ordered and received our supply of written entrance exams in anticipation of the hiring process for police officer. Of course, that's all contingent on a few other items such as the dispatch and, of course, the pandemic we're in, and our equipment that goes in the cars, which I've got confirmation from Trinity Solutions and GTAC that our order has been received and is being processed for our in-car cameras, our mobile data computers and mounts, and our body-worn cameras. And we are also setting up training with GTAC, who's the manufacturer of that equipment, to show us how to use all that. It's pretty high-tech and state-of-the-art and the best, in my opinion, the best out there right now. I've requested a demo with a company called Fusus Technology. And what Fusus is, it's an innovative system that integrates private residences and commercial private businesses' camera systems with law enforcement to combat crime. It's a voluntary program, but it ties in through software. And my purpose of this is to explore it and speak with the school district and see if they want to integrate their cameras with anticipation of us having school resource officers in place, that if we were to need some footage from their camera system for an investigation, that it would just directly be sent to us over the computer. So we're looking into that. We did a refresher this week with our 3 sergeants on SABA training, which is self-aid, buddy aid, basically tourniquet applications. That's a required annual training for best practices, and we're going ahead and starting that now. Sergeant Gillum is working with software Interview Now, the same software we use to recruit sergeants. She is revamping that and in anticipation for when we advertise for a police officer. And we've also ordered a tablecloth for recruiting purposes at police academies that we'll be using once this coronavirus subsides and we start seeing more job fairs. We also were confirmed that our evidence room is in final stages of fabrication, and I'm supposed to get a phone call this week with the install date that will be going in our existing building. And then I spoke with the owner of a ballistic glass company in Addison, and they're coming out this week to hopefully to quote our lobby doors and windows and our walk-up window for the lobby. And then lastly, I might defer this to the town manager if she'd like to comment. We had a meeting with Seagoville police department and fire department in regards to dispatching as I back up to the Mesquite plan. And that's what's been going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Let me ask you, so the ballistic, so we have a company we are using to fortify or shield our lobby. Have you tried to approach them, or that's a different business?
I'm having trouble hearing you, Mayor. I'm sorry. There's an echo.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, you just talked about you got someone from Capel or somebody coming to look at the ballistic shields for the front lobby.
Yes.
I was asking, we have a company who is currently working to put ballistic shields, I thought, in our front lobby of the chamber, all the town.
Yes, sir. And it's probably going to be one of those projects where we'll have to get multiple bids. So it was just the first one I've called.
Gotcha. Council, have any questions for Chief? Okay, if there are none, if there are no actions, it's an update, right? So let me ask you here, Ms. Brenda and Susan. So we got, let me go to item number 16. Mayor and council request for future staff updates and agenda items. Council. Okay, if there are none, so the next item is supposed to be executive session. I know you pulled item number 17, correct?
Correct. Item 17 is pulled, and item 18, I'm able to take that in open session if you all are comfortable with that.
Council, are you comfortable taking that in open session?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Guthrie, item number 18, that's the, let's see.
We'll be going to item 19 then, which is the open session.
Okay, so we're going to cancel the executive session and moving on to the open session. And item number 19, which is consider official action, if any, on matters discussing, we don't have an executive session. So you want to give us just a status update on the PUC?
Yes.
Right, please.
Yes, and it actually will be an action item. Let me just make sure numbers. Okay. So in our executive session previously, I had updated you on the PUC case and the customer cities for North Texas Municipal Water District. And you all had advised me to go forward with securing a contract with an attorney along with the group. And so I emailed you all the copies of the documents because we weren't meeting together here tonight. And it is the agreement for me to enter into that group. And I would sign that and actually have to submit it tonight if it would be included into the case with the rest of the customer cities. You can see there the proportion. I sent you a chart of what our proportion of the fee will be, just based upon the gallons of water that we consume. If additional towns or cities join into that case, that could go down. And there may be a little bit of a delay in the PUC case because of everything going on. If that happens, it might allow more towns to join in, and then our proportionate cost would decrease. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but basically this is hiring the attorney to represent all of us.
What is the cost again? Remind me.
Well, it's a proportionate cost. Obviously, we have to put our retainer down, but we don't know what the total cost is going to be.
So the retainer is not just for our town. I saw the number.
Yeah, it's for each town. We have an estimate based. Brenda, did you want to talk?
No, yes. So I just want to say the motion would be to approve the engagement letter with Jackson Walker and to approve the common interest agreement.
Yeah, and I sent both of those to you all today. And again, we don't know what the total cost is going to be, But I did, locate in the agreement that at any time that we want to withdraw, we do have the right to do that. So, if at some point we just feel like it's past our threshold, I can keep you abreast of what the expenditures are, and, we always have that option.
So I'm going to, this takes a public comments also? Or?
Yes. Brenda, you don't think so?
You don't have to take public comment on this one, especially since you can, but we're not required to do that. The governor has suspended all the public comment requirements.
That's true. But I'm going to take public comments anyway. If there are any comments from the public, would you raise your hand or state your name, please? No one is coming forward, so I'm going to close the public comment. Council, are there any questions or discussions on item number 8, that's a PUC rate case? If there are none, Brenda, may I ask you to make that take that motion correctly, then I'll call for a motion.
Sure, it would be a motion to approve the engagement letter with Jackson Walker and to approve the common interest agreement.
Okay, can I have a motion with respect to that item?
Mayor, I'll make a motion as stated by Attorney Brenda McDonald.
Motion made by Mr. Allen to approve the motion.
I'll second.
Kevin
seconded it. Clark. Motion made by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Clark to approve item number with respect to PUC rate case. Have you heard the motion? Are there additional discussions or questions? If none, can I have it all in favor signify?
Is that your feet?
What? All opposed? Motion passed 7-0. I think, Council, that's it. This time, I'm going to call for a motion to adjourn.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Motion made.
Second.
Second by Mr. Finch. That is right. To adjourn the regular session for March 23rd. Have you heard the motion? All in favor, signify. All opposed. Motion passed 7-0. Staff, I just want to say thank you so much, especially Joseph. Yes, Pinaki, thanks so much for your help. Susan,
Are you going to say the time, sir?
yes, sir. The time is 8:06. Ms. Hopkins, Chief Brenda, thank you so much. Council members, thanks for calling from different places.
Great job. Loved it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Bye all.
Let's stay healthy. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. This worked really well. Thank you.
Good job, Joseph. This was really